LEGO started making Star Wars sets in 1999, and some of those older sets are super nostalgic, but some just ain't looking so hot. But as LEGO evolved and developed new piece molds and minifigure designs, the quality and accuracy of sets got a lot better. Like seriously, I think they've perfected Luke's Landspeeder by now. All jokes aside, I thought it'd be fun to compare old LEGO Star Wars sets to their newer remakes. This is gonna be a long one, so sit back, relax, and
strap yourselves in,
because
this is where the fun begins.
The first one to kick it off is the MTT, and LEGO has made 3 of them thus far, and I'm just gonna be blunt. The 2000 version was terrible, the 2007 version was incredible, and the 2014 version was good, but not as good as the 2007 version. The 2007 MTT is the biggest of the 3, the design looks great, and it comes with tons of battle droids. Darth Maul's Sith Infiltrator, or Scimitar, is a really cool ship from the Phantom Menace, and LEGO has made 4 versions of it in 1999, 2007, 2011, and 2015. Each one of these models progressively got better with each remake. Each version also comes with Darth Maul's speeder, but the later 2 versions came with more minifigures, including Qui-Gon Jinn, Captain Panaka, and Watto. The Mos Espa pod race from 1999 is such a classic set, and a similar set was remade in 2011, but it was only Anakin and Sebulba's pod racers. The design for both the pods in the 2011 version were greatly improved and came on stands made out of transparent, clear Technic pieces. And in 1999, there was also a set of just Anakin's pod racer. And for the 20th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars in 2019, LEGO released a set of just Anakin's pod racer, and it had some subtle improvements from the 2011 version, and it even uses the same pieces as Palpatine's lightning. The AAT is a separatist and/or Trade Federation tank, most notably from the Phantom Menace and the Clone Wars TV show, and LEGO has made 2 versions of each AAT, and they differ quite a bit. The first Trade Federation AAT was released in 2000 and looks pretty decent in my opinion, and honestly I prefer this version over the 2015 version, which was scaled down way too much. And same goes with the Separatist AATs from the Clone Wars that have this really cool dark blue color scheme. The first one that came out in 2009 was much larger and detailed compared to the brand new 2020 version, but let me know which version you prefer down in the comments below. Next are these 3 droid carrier sets, the first one released in 1999, another one in 2011, and the most recent version in 2015. What's crazy is that while the sets themselves have improved a lot over the years, LEGO has still not improved the B-1 battle droid design since they were first made in 1999. The N-1 or Naboo Starfighter is easily one of my favorite ship designs from the prequels. The first LEGO one was made in 1999 and it looked pretty rough. In 2002, they actually made a UCS Naboo Starfighter, and I personally believe this is the best Naboo Starfighter set just because it's minifigure scale and it actually uses chrome pieces.
Everything is chrome in the future!
The next remake was in 2007, and it looked way better than the 1999 version. And it also had one of those giant Technic missile launchers that you could shoot out from the bottom of the set, and it also came with a Vulture droid. The next remake was in 2011, and it had some minor improvements from the previous version, but instead of a Vulture droid, it came with a side build of a maintenance cart. It also had a better minifigure selection and a droideka. The most recent 2015 remake looks very similar to the 2011 version, but it had an even better minifigure selection and 2 droidekas. And I guess we'll include Mando's N1 Starfighter in here since it's the same model as the Naboo Starfighters, but it's obviously in a gray color scheme, which I still think should be chrome. Besides that, it also has other modifications like a seat for Grogu and an updated engine. If I had a nickel for every time LEGO made a Gungan sub,
I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
The 2000 version honestly didn't look too bad, and it's so nostalgic. It came with some really cool printed pieces and a special molded piece for this little guy. The only remake of this set was in 2012 and was a massive improvement, but it didn't come with any side builds like the 2000 version did. But today, this set is extremely valuable just because it came with the only Queen Amidala figure ever made, which is now worth around $200. LEGO has made a decent amount of Vulture droids over the years. The first standalone set of a Vulture droid came out in 1999, and its only remake was in 2014. That is, if we don't include the 2009 Hyena Bomber from the Clone Wars. Now, of course, there were lots of other sets that came with Vulture droids, including the Naboo Starfighter set from 2007 and the Ultimate Space Battle from 2005, but the only standalone sets of this vehicle were in 1999 and 2014. The Flash Speeder from the Phantom Menace was only made twice, once in 1999 and then again in 2015. I was never really a fan of this vehicle, but the 2015 remake absolutely crushes the 1999 version in every way possible. The Hailfire droid is one of the few cases where I think the oldest set is the best one. It released in in 2003 and looked amazing. It was pretty much entirely a Technic build, which actually worked really well for this vehicle. Another one came out in 2008 and it was much smaller. And fun fact, this set actually came in 2 different box art styles. Finally, the most recent remake released in 2016, and I'm sorry, it just looks really bad, especially since the 2 sections of missiles on the top are literally just spring-loaded shooters. But on the bright side, it did come with a really cool clone lieutenant. LEGO has really been cashing in on nostalgia lately. They're releasing legit the best battle pack of all time on January 1st of 2024. It comes with 3 P2 regs, a shock trooper, and a handful of battle droids. But only OGs know that this set is a remake of both the droid battle pack and the clone troopers battle pack from 2005, just combined into one set. There was a Darth Vader transformation set that came out in 2005, and while the set was simple, it was really cool because you could actually transform Anakin into Darth Vader. The 2017 remake was a massive improvement and looks way better than the 2005 version. It also came with super realistic minifigures and had a great function to put Vader's suit and helmet on. The 2005 Clone Turbo Tank is such a classic set and was so much fun to play around with as a kid. It had a bark speeder, turret, opening interior, and a version of the set came with a light-up Mace Windu figure. While the OG version is super nostalgic, the newer 2010 and 2016 versions each brought improvements with new tire and wheel pieces and just look more accurate overall. Speaking of light-up minifigures, the Ultimate Lightsaber Duel set might be one of my all-time favorites. It came with Obi-Wan and Anakin, and they had lightsabers that actually lit up if you pressed on their heads. This was a feature LEGO tried out only in 2005 with a total of 5 minifigures, and it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a LEGO set, and I have no idea why LEGO doesn't put it in sets nowadays. But on top of that, it came with these stands for Obi-Wan and Anakin so that you and your friends, if you have any, can duel each other.
I will do what I must.
This is one of the few cases where I think the older set is better than the newer one, because LEGO remade this set in 2020 and called it the Duel on Mustafar set, and the set is alright and comes with some decent builds and figures, but I'm sorry, nothing can compare to the 2005 version. The first Republic gunship released in 2002, and it's such a classic. Its minifigure selection was perfection, and who could forget Jedi Bob? This version of the gunship also had this really weird but cool function where you could open the front of the ship and gain access to a command center. It also included this cargo crate that was held in place with these magnet pieces. The next remake of the gunship was in 2008 for the Clone Wars, and it had the double doors so that it could actually go into space. It also included a back-to-tank and a small command station. The 2013 version definitely takes the cake for being the best looking gunship and is my personal favorite. And I remember when I was 10 years old, I saved up all my money from mowing lawns to buy this set.
Good times, good times.
In 2021, LEGO made a UCS gunship, and at this larger scale, the designers were able to add more accurate details, especially around the cockpit and bubble turrets on the sides. It also came with a clone commander that actually doubles as the pilot.
One is a clone commander, which also doubles as the pilot.
This same minifigure came in this $15 minifigure pack and even an advent calendar. It also included a Mace Windu figure that's only exclusive because of a few pieces of dust on his torso. The most recent gunship is the Coruscant Guard Republic gunship that released in 2023. The main difference between this set and the other ones is its dark red color scheme. The set is based on a version of the gunship that was briefly seen in the Clone Wars, and it's honestly kind of refreshing to get the gunship in a new color. The first LEGO ATTE released in 2002, and my gosh, I miss those classic Phase 1 clone troopers. The older helmet style had slits for the visors and black heads underneath, but the helmet mold changed in 2008 for the animated style clones. The set looked alright for the time, and the 2008 version based on the Clone Wars TV show was a great improvement to the 2002 version. It also came with Phase 1 Captain Rex, which was super sick. Then we've got the 2013 version, which looked really good. Then we've got Captain Rex's ATTE from Star Wars Rebels, but it's kind of hard to compare that one to the other ATTEs since it was modified so much by Captain Rex. And then the most recent 2022 ATTE, which is barely an improvement to the 2013 version, but has a lot of subtle improvements and a way better way to access the interior. It's also a great army builder and comes with Phase 2 Commander Cody for the first time ever in LEGO. The first Swamp Speeder was actually part of this Wookiee Catamaran set from 2005 and also came with these really cool 442nd Troopers. The next one was its own set and released in 2010, and then it was made again in the 2014 Kashyyyk Troopers Battle Pack. And last but not least is the most recent Swamp Speeder that was released in the 2023 332nd Battle Pack. Next is the good old Republic Fighter Tank, and let me just say, this set is definitely downgraded over the years. The first and best version of this set released in 2008. The set was so epic, it was massive and had so many play features. The next one came out in 2017 and was way too small, but still looked pretty accurate overall. The 2022 version looks not very good. The fighter tank itself looks terrible, especially since it has this weird looking bump in the middle. The only thing it's got going for it is its insane minifigure selection. Like, come on, man, 187th Troopers and Clone Wars Mace Windu, say less. This Jedi duel set came out in 2002, and it literally just came with Count Dooku, Yoda, and Count Dooku's speeder. It was remade in 2013, but this time on top of Dooku's speeder, it came with a section of Dooku's lair on Geonosis, and this feature where you can have Yoda flipping around like a frog on ketamine. You also got Dooku, Yoda, and Poggle the Lesser with the Death Star plans. The ARC 170 is a really cool ship that doesn't get much screen time, but the first one released in 2005, and it was remade in 2010. The 2010 version uses some better building techniques, but part of me still likes the 2005 version better. That's probably just nostalgia talking though. In 2005, LEGO released this General Grievous chase set that came with Grievous's wheel bike and Obi-Wan's Boga. Man, this set is so freaking nostalgic for me. The mold for Boga's head and the Grievous minifigure are just so classic. In 2014, LEGO remade this set, but it was just the wheel bike and didn't come with Obi-Wan's Boga. It's just insane how much more detail the 2014 General Grievous minifigure has compared to the 2005 version. Speaking of General Grievous, his first starfighter released in 2007, and it looked alright. The only thing that looked off was the cockpit piece. It was remade in 2010, which is my personal favorite version of this ship, and finally the most recent remake was in 2020, and it looked pretty good. It was just way too overpriced at the time. Countless ATRTs have been made in LEGO form. Well, I guess not countless, because I can name all of them. The first one came out in 2005 in a set called the Clone Scout Walker from the Battle of Kashyyyk, and came with a pretty sick looking clone trooper. I'm a huge sucker for those old style Phase 2 clone troopers. The next one released in the Clone Walker Battle Pack from 2008. There was also a polybag of a clone trooper on an ATRT that released in 2009. Next was an ATRT that came as a side build with the Clone Turbo Tank from 2010. Also, fun fact, there was technically another ATRT build that came as a part of the LEGO Brickmaster book from 2010. Then there was the 501st ATRT from 2013, which was pretty massive. Next was the ATRT that came in the 2015 Geonosis Troopers Battle Pack. After that, there was an ATRT that came in the 2016 Clone Turbo Tank, and then there was the 20th anniversary Clone Scout Walker, which is actually supposed to be a direct remake of the 2005 version. And finally, we have the ATRT that came in the 2020 501st Legion Clone Troopers set. Honestly, I think the majority of the ATRTs LEGO has made are oversized and way bigger than minifigure scale, except for some of the Battle Pack builds and the ones that came in the Clone Turbo Tanks. Seems like LEGO has really been slacking on the Separatist sets recently. We haven't gotten hardly any in years, except for a couple sprinkled in here and there. But next is the Droid Tri-Fighter, and the design has pretty much stayed the same throughout the years. The first one came out in 2005 as its own separate set, as well as a part of the Ultimate Space Battle set. It was remade in 2010 and looked pretty solid, but had a slightly different color scheme. And the most recent 2014 version was very similar to the 2010 version, except it was more gray than blue, and also came with a Chancellor Palpatine minifigure. The homing spider droid has also been made 3 times. The first one released in 2008 with all the other Clone Wars sets, and the body of it definitely looked a little blocky, but it did come with Commander Fox. The other 2 remakes are literally identical except for some slight differences in minifigures, and the 2013 version didn't have any stud launchers, and the 2017 one did. The Mandalorian Starfighters are some of the coolest looking ships in the Clone Wars. The first LEGO version came out in 2012 and was pre-Vizsla Starfighter. This was the only set you could get pre-Vizsla in, which is why he's now worth well over $150. The next Mandalorian Starfighter released in 2021 and was Bo-Katan's Gauntlet Fighter from the Clone Wars Season 7. Though both of these sets have very different color schemes, the mechanism to fold the wings into landed mode and also rotate the cockpit are pretty much identical. Pre-Vizsla's is a classic, but the newer one definitely looks a bit more polished. This might just be the best LEGO Star Wars UCS set ever made.
Yeah, no kidding.
LEGO released the long-awaited UCS Venator in October of 2023, and oh my goodness, does it look absolutely beautiful. And naturally, I just had to buy this set. However, this isn't the first Venator LEGO has made. The first one actually released in 2009 and was a playscale set, and my boy was a little chunky, and it also came with this creepy looking Palpatine figure. Besides just the sheer scale of the UCS version compared to the 2009 version, one of the main differences is that the bridge on the UCS version is actually red, signifying that it's a flagship Venator. The OG Venator will always be nostalgic for me, but man, I'm so happy they made a UCS version. Now, the Republic Cruiser and the Republic Frigate sets are technically the same ship. The cruisers were just upgraded to frigates during the Clone Wars. In 2007, LEGO made the Republic Cruiser from the Phantom Menace that had a red color scheme, and in 2011, LEGO released a Republic Frigate from the Clone Wars in a gray color scheme, and besides the color scheme, they look very similar to each other. There are a ton of clone battle packs, so let's see how fast we can speedrun this one.
3, 2, 1, go!
2007 was the birth of the clone battle pack. The first one came with 2 regular Phase 2 clones, a shock trooper and a Star Corps trooper. Plus it had side builds of a turret and bark speeder. Next is the Clone Walker battle pack from 2009, which everyone calls the OG clone trooper battle pack, even though the 2007 version came out before it. But it came with a small ATRT build, 3 regular Phase 1 troops, and a clone gunner, making it easily the best army builder. Then we've got the 2011 clone trooper battle pack, which came with a bark speeder, 2 bomb squad troopers, a horn company trooper, and an ARF trooper. In 2012, LEGO released the Elite Clone Trooper and Commando Droid battle pack that came with an ARC trooper, an ARF trooper, and 2 commando droids. A year later in 2013, there was a Clone Trooper vs. Droideka battle pack that came with a command station, a regular Phase 1 clone trooper, a clone sergeant, plus 2 droidekas. In 2014, we actually got 2 clone battle packs, one with 2 12th troopers and another with Kashyyyk troopers. In 2015, we got a Geonosis troopers battle pack, and then in 2018, there was a Jedi and clone troopers battle pack that came with Ki-Adi-Mundi, Barriss Offee, and 2 Phase 1 clone troopers. Now, the original 501st battle pack from 2020 wasn't a true battle pack since it was $30 and came with 2 builds and 6 minifigures instead of the usual 1 build and 4 minifigures, but I guess we'll still put it in here. The true 501st battle pack came out in 2023 with a 501st officer, 501st specialist, and 2 501st heavy troopers. And last but not least, we have the 332nd trooper battle pack that just released in August of 2023, which comes with a swamp speeder build, 3 332nd troopers, and Captain Vaughn. But really, last but not least, is the 2024 clone troopers and droids battle pack we talked about earlier. In 2013, LEGO released the clone trooper vs. Droideka battle pack that we just talked about, and it came with a command station as we see in Attack of the Clones. And as a matter of fact, LEGO released another clone trooper command station set as a minifig pack in 2022. It came with 2 regular Phase 1 clone troopers as well as a clone commander. Speaking of Star Wars minifigure packs, this is just a new thing that LEGO's trying out, right?
Wrong!
LEGO actually made 4 minifig packs back in 2000. Each one came with 3 minifigures, and there were trading cards for each character and stands that you could display them on. And fun fact, these are the same pieces that they used in the LEGO basketball sets. And why LEGO didn't make any more of these for 22 years, I couldn't tell you, but at least better late than never.
These 2 battle packs we talked about earlier came with miniature builds of the AV7 cannon, but the only minifigure scale version released in 2014 and came with 2 Wolfpack troopers.
There was a Mandalorian battle pack that came out back in 2011 and came with 4 Death Watch Mandalorians. Now, LEGO remade this Mandalorian battle pack in 2020, but this time it was from the Mandalorian Disney Plus show instead of the Clone Wars. And it came with 4 completely unique Mandalorian figures, which doesn't make it great for army building. But the side builds that came with both of these battle packs are basically identical. In 2003, LEGO released the first Geonosis Starfighter, which looked really good for being from 2003. It also came with a Geonosis cannon, 2 really cool looking Geonosis figures with plastic K pieces for their wings, and 2 Sand Red battle droids. This set was remade in 2011, this time based off the Clone Wars TV show, and it had a much sleeker design thanks to some new LEGO pieces. It also came with an updated Geonosis figure, Phase 1 Commander Cody, and Ki-Adi-Mundi. The first bark speeder came along the 2005 Clone Turbo Tank. The next one came in the OG Clone Trooper battle pack from 2007, and following that, another bark speeder was released in this other Clone Wars battle pack from 2011. Then there was the 2013 bark speeder with sidecar set that came with none other than Phase 2 Captain Rex, which is now worth over $200. Then there was a bark speeder that came in the 2014 Battle of Saleucami set. And last but not least is the bark speeder that came in the 501st Legion Clone Trooper set from 2020. The V-Wing is such an underrated ship in Star Wars, and there were 3 of them made in LEGO. First one was in 2006, and it honestly looked pretty solid. Then there was an Imperial V-Wing that released in 2011, which reminds me of the V-Wings that we see in the Bad Batch. And finally, the most recent V-Wing was released in 2014 and is pretty much a direct remake of the 2006 version, but has, you guessed it, updated building techniques and a sleeker design. There are a total of 3 LEGO Corporate Alliance tank droids that have been released, and the first one came as a part of the Wookiee attack set from 2005. It had this unique light blue and neon orange color scheme that actually looked kind of cool, but was super inaccurate since it looked nothing like the ones in the movie do. The next one released in 2009 and looked normal, and the final remake was in 2013, and it's the only one that doesn't have printed dish pieces for the sides of the tank. But it did come with the first updated Jango Fett minifigure since 2002. In 2008, LEGO released the first droid gunship, and honestly it looked pretty solid, and it's the biggest of all the droid gunships. The next remake was in 2014, and it utilized updated pieces and building techniques, which made it look a bit better. And then finally, the 2019 version is technically the smallest of all of them, but it looks super clean and tiled off. Next is the AT-AP, and the first one came out in 2008, and it looked pretty darn good for the time. It came with 2 shock troopers, had a retractable front leg, rotating turret, and compartments you could open up and put your figures inside. The next 2 remakes had pretty much the exact same features, but the 2014 version was the first to introduce spring-loaded shooters, and it came with a great minifigure selection including Commander Gree and Chief Tarful. The 2019 version looked nearly identical to the 2014 version.
What's the difference?
And also came with Commander Gree, but had a bonus Kashyyyk trooper and Chewie as well. There have been so many Jedi starfighters, I don't even know where to start. In 2002, we had Obi-Wan starfighter from Episode 2. In 2008, they released Anakin starfighter from the Clone Wars TV show, and Ahsoka starfighter released just a year later in 2009 and came with a Vulture droid. They released a UCS Obi-Wan Starfighter in 2010, and it's one of the few UCS sets that LEGO has made based on the prequel trilogy. Also in 2010 was Plo Koon Starfighter that looked pretty freaking sweet. I love the coloration on this one. Mace Windu's Jedi Starfighter came out in 2011, and I always thought this set was super cool because it came with one of those tactical droids. In 2012 was Sazy Tin's Green Jedi Starfighter. Anakin's custom Jedi Starfighter from 2015 was also pretty awesome, but it's not even canon. In 2017, there was a set that came with Obi-Wan Starfighter and the booster ring that he uses to go to Kamino and attack the clones. In 2018, LEGO remade Anakin's Yellow Starfighter, and in 2022, they remade Obi-Wan Starfighter from Attack of the Clones, and it came with the first ever Kaminoan minifigure. The first LEGO Jedi Interceptors released in 2005 for Revenge of the Sith. Both Obi-Wan and Anakin's Interceptors came in the Ultimate Space Battle set that we talked about earlier. And don't ask me why, but in the same year they made a set of just Anakin's Interceptor, and it came with a Vulture droid. This Jedi Interceptor with Hyperdrive booster ring set is so freaking epic. It released in 2007, and it's from that scene where Obi-Wan goes to Utapau to hunt down General Grievous. I absolutely love the blue color scheme of this set, and it's so nostalgic for me. And for whatever reason, Kit Fisto also came with this set. In 2012, LEGO released another version of Anakin's Jedi Interceptor, but this time it was the one that he takes to Mustafar to slice and dice all the Separatist leaders. This one was really cool because it came with the lava droids that Obi-Wan and Anakin fight on, so you can reenact that iconic duel on Mustafar. 2 years later, there was yet another Anakin's Interceptor, and this one was a remake of the yellow one you see in the opening scene of Revenge of the Sith. In 2016, we got a remake of Obi-Wan's Interceptor from the opening scene of Revenge of the Sith as well, and the only real differences were some newer pieces and stickers. Finally, in 2020, LEGO released yet another yellow Anakin's Jedi Interceptor.
What?
And honestly, I have a really hard time telling the difference between this one and the 2014 version. Not gonna lie, I can't tell the difference between these two sets.
She's getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
The first Yoda Starfighter released in 2017, and fun fact, it used the same cockpit piece that's used for the LEGO TIE Fighter sets. The set was remade just this year in 2023, and out of all the sets LEGO could have made for the 20th anniversary of the Clone Wars, it was this one. The first LEGO Star Destroyer was actually an Ultimate Collector Series set. It released in 2002, and this was when LEGO still used the yellowish gray color before they switched to the new light bluish gray color we know and love today. And since this set was available until 2007, it was actually produced in both gray colors. It also used magnet pieces to hold all the panels together, but after years of having this set on display, the plates start to sag and even fall off completely. The next Star Destroyer was released in 2006. It had a massive interior space that folded out when you took off the top section. It was complete with an escape pod and a meditation chamber for Darth Vader. Another Playscale Star Destroyer was released in 2014, and it was a bit smaller but still opened up in the same way and had some great interior detail. This version of the Star Destroyer also had a play feature where you could make the turrets move back and forth. Both Playscale Star Destroyers also came with holograms of the Emperor. There was a much needed remake of the UCS Star Destroyer in 2019. It had a much stronger design and an easier way to pick up the set for transportation. The Imperial Landing Craft is a vehicle that was shown for about 3 seconds in A New Hope, and LEGO made a set of it in 2007. It was a very unique set and was pretty awesome because it had this sick function where you could basically detach the entire bottom half of the ship to drop your troops off. LEGO remade this set in 2018, and it looked a lot more polished compared to the 2007 version, especially around the cockpit area. Another super nostalgic set is Jabba's Palace from 2003. It low-key reminds me of one of those old Harry Potter sets, but this set came with some great minifigures, including none other than Jabba himself, and it had a trap door function to send Luke to the Rancor Pit. The next remake of this set was in 2012, and it was also pretty incredible. Not only did it come with a ton of insane minifigures, some with brand new molds, but also had great play features and looked amazing on display. And fun fact, there was actually a separate Rancor Pit set that you could buy to put underneath the Jabba's Palace. Now, we kind of downgraded in 2022 with the Boba Fett's Throne Room set. It basically looks like the 2012 version, just squished. It doesn't have the roof part on the top, and the tower isn't nearly as tall as it needs to be. Besides that, the set comes with some great exclusive minifigures, and Boba's throne looks awesome. Speaking of Jabba, the first version of his sail barge released in 2006, and this is another case where I like the older version better than the newer one. The 2006 version just had so much going for it. It came with a desert skiff and Sarlacc pit, plus it just looks more accurate than the 2013 version in my opinion. The 2013 set wasn't bad, it's just not as good as the other one. Alright, now we've got the A-Wing, and this set has been made a lot, so I'm gonna go through these pretty quick. The first one was in 1999, and it was remade in 2006, 2013, and 2017, which that one looked amazing since they finally figured out how to angle the
the wings. The 2019 one was for the Rise of Skywalker. Also in 2019 was the Junior's A-Wing, and it's probably the best looking Star Wars Junior set. And finally, we've got the 2020 UCS A-Wing. The biggest improvements on the A-Wing were definitely between the 1999 and 2006 versions and between the 2013 and 2017 versions. The first LEGO B-Wing released in the year 2000, and the B-Wing itself didn't look too great, but the set was still really cool because it came with a command center build. It was remade in 2006 and looked significantly better and beefier than the 2000 version, and though it didn't come with a command center, it came with a maintenance stand that holds up the B-Wing. In 2012, LEGO made a UCS version of the B-Wing, and it was at a much larger scale than the previous B-Wings. And fun fact, the piece that they used for the cockpit is the same one that they used for the Jedi Interceptors. The most recent B-Wing set came out in 2014, and though it arguably looks better than the previous playscale versions, the set didn't come with a maintenance stand, command station, or any other side builds. The first version of the Mos Eisley Cantina released in 2004, and man, I love this set. Even though the build of the Cantina itself isn't amazing, it came with Luke's land speeder, a really cool molded dewback, and even Greedo with arm printing. Even the newer Cantina sets couldn't include all that. 10 years later, LEGO remade the Cantina, and it definitely did the original one justice. The Cantina section could fold in and out for storage and play access. It also came with a dewback and land speeder just like the previous version, and the Biff musicians that play the Cantina music were a great addition to this set. In 2018, LEGO made another Cantina, and it's probably the worst one just because it was so small and came with less figures. Now, it's kind of hard to compare this one to the other Cantinas just because of the sheer scale, but the 2020 Master Builder Series Cantina is so cool, and if you haven't picked it up yet, I would highly recommend doing it pretty soon since it comes with a ton of exclusive minifigures and is going to retire soon. The first LEGO set that came with Yoda's hut was actually the 4502 X-Wing fighter set from 2004. The main build was obviously the X-Wing, but it included a side build of Yoda's hut, which was actually pretty cool. In 2018, LEGO released a set of just Yoda's hut, and it looked way better than the 2004 version. Finally, LEGO released this Dagobah Jedi training diorama set for adult collectors, which has an insane amount of detail and even comes with a wing of Luke's X-Wing sticking out of the swamp.
What are you doing in my swamp?
In 2009, LEGO released two Hoth battle packs. One was Rebel Troopers and the other was Snow Troopers, so they could battle against each other. And in 2022, LEGO did the exact same thing and released a Snow Trooper battle pack and a Rebel Trooper minifigure pack. In 2014, LEGO released a Death Star Troopers battle pack with the Death Star cannon as the main build. Fast forward to 2019, and LEGO made another Death Star cannon set that came with Obi-Wan, an Imperial gunner, and a little function where Obi-Wan can disable the tractor beam.
The first LEGO Sandcrawler came out in 2005 and was a really solid set for its time and had a lot of interior space. However, the next version of the Sandcrawler that came out in 2014 was the UCS Sandcrawler and was undoubtedly way better than the 2005 version. It was scaled up, used updated building techniques like studs not on top for the side paneling, and just overall looked a lot better. Another Playscale Sandcrawler was made in 2018 and it had a similar scale to the 2005 version but had similar building techniques to the UCS version. LEGO has made a total of 5 Imperial shuttles including the UCS version, and the 2001 version is definitely the worst of the 3. But not gonna lie, the 2005 version is probably my favorite just for nostalgia's sake. I mean, the front cockpit still looks horrible, but it was just so cool that it came with Vader, Palpatine, 4 stormtroopers with leg printing, 2 royal guards, and an Imperial officer. The newer Playscale 2015 Tidarium and 2021 version definitely look way better than the previous Playscale versions because they use new pieces and building techniques, but the 2005 version will always hold a special place in my heart. In 2012, LEGO released the UCS Imperial Shuttle, which was massive and actually minifigure scale. It came with a super cool stand so you could actually make it look like it was flying, and had a function where you can raise and lower the wings. Though the UCS version looked incredible, I'm still crossing my fingers for a remake of this set here soon. The T-16 Skyhopper is a really unique vehicle in Star Wars and isn't really shown very much, except for when Luke is playing around with his toy model of it in A New Hope and also in the Kenobi show. LEGO made a version of this ship in 2003 which looked alright for the time, but it was remade in 2015 and it looks so much better. The Millennium Falcon is another set that's been remade a ton of times. Per usual, the 2000 version was looking pretty rough, but the giant printed pieces they used for the body of the ship were actually kind of cool. Next, there was a miniature version of the Millennium Falcon that released in 2003. It was part of the mini-series of Star Wars vehicles and was pretty detailed for such a small set. The 2004 version of the Falcon was a pretty big step up from the one that came out in 2000. It had a better looking cockpit and a new design for the panels that opened up. The 2007 UCS Millennium Falcon was the biggest LEGO
LEGO set of all time when it released. It was an absolute behemoth, and after it retired, it went to the absolute moon in resale price. In 2009, LEGO made a midi-scale Millennium Falcon that was a size in between the miniature one and the play-scale ones. Next was the 2011 version, which was a nice refresh of the 2004 set. 2014 was LEGO's first Millennium Falcon microfighter, and then the 2017 Falcon was pretty similar to the 2011 one, but was redesigned for the Force Awakens. The UCS Falcon was remade in 2017, and just like its predecessor, it was also the largest LEGO set of all time when it released, and it's arguably the best LEGO Star Wars set ever made. The biggest improvements on the 2017 model are the brand new cockpit piece, these panels that reveal interior sections, the techniques used for the top spots where the gunners sit, and just the overall stud to tile ratio. 2018 was the second remake of the Millennium Falcon microfighter. In 2018, LEGO released the Kessel Run Millennium Falcon from Solo. This version was white and had an escape pod in the middle. The 2019 version is probably the best overall playscale Millennium Falcon. The proportions look the best, and there's no gaps in the panels. And finally is the third Millennium Falcon microfighter remake that released in 2021. The T-47 Airspeeder, or Snowspeeder for you non-Star Wars nerds, is another set that has been remade countless times, and the first one that was released in 1999 was actually light gray, which I personally think is a more accurate color for the Snowspeeders, but ever since that 1999 version, LEGO switched to a white color scheme for the Snowspeeders and hasn't looked back since. There have been a total of 9 Snowspeeders that have come in LEGO sets since 1999, including UCS sets, and there's also been a Snowspeeder polybag and microfighter. I've gotta say, after the 2004 version came out, the Snowspeeder design hasn't really changed that much, besides minor details. And even though it's been remade so many times, I still don't think LEGO has got the look quite right. The front just looks weird to me. The first UCS Snowspeeder released in 2003, and being from 2003, it used relatively elementary building techniques, which are especially present in the front of the Snowspeeder. The UCS Snowspeeder was then remade in 2015 and was a huge improvement building technique wise. This version even came with minifigures, unlike the 2003 version. The major downside to the newer one was the 34 stickers you had to apply to this set. Next is Luke's Landspeeder, which you're probably sick of hearing about if you're an avid LEGO Star Wars fan. If you include the UCS version that came out in 2022, we've gotten 7 Luke's Landspeeders since 1999, which is more than the number of boxes of mac and cheese in my cupboard. Is that too many or not enough? I don't know, you tell me. The design of the playscale versions has definitely improved if we compare the 1999 version and the 2020 version, which I would expect since there's over 20 years of LEGO technique advancement between the two, but I would be totally fine if LEGO never made another Luke's Landspeeder for all of eternity. The ATST, or Chicken Walker as the distinguished folks call it, has also improved a lot over the years. I mean, if we compare the 2001 version to the newest 2022 version, there's just a massive difference here between the two models. Nah, but for real though, the design of the ATST has definitely improved over the years, but we just don't talk about the Juniors ATST or the First Order ATST. LEGO has made tons of X-Wings, and just like the first Snowspeeder ever made, the first X-Wing was light gray instead of the white color scheme the newer Red 5 models have. If we compare the 1999 version to the 2018 or 2021 version, there's definitely a massive difference with part usage, building technique, and functionality, but after the 2012 version, LEGO has pretty much mastered the design of the X-Wing in LEGO form. As for the sequel versions, LEGO has made 2 versions of Poe Dameron's X-Wing, as well as a Resistance X-Wing. They've also made 2 Juniors versions of the X-Wings, one from the original trilogy and the other from the sequel trilogy. The first UCS X-Wing released in 2000 and didn't look amazing by any means, but it was basically the prehistoric era. The next remake came out in 2013 and it looked really good. The only downsides to this model are that the engines are a little bit too small and there were stickers for the cockpit piece. And of course, we got the most recent UCS X-Wing that released in 2023. The box art for this set is not very flattering to say the least, and originally I thought the engines on this version were way too big, but after I looked at a couple of pictures of in-universe X-Wings, I definitely like the way the engines look on the 2023 version a lot better than the previous ones, but I still don't think we needed this remake. The first Boba Fett Slave 1 came out in 2000 and looked pretty rough, and don't ask me why, but the 2006 remake is probably my favorite Slave 1 model, besides the UCS one of course. The 2010 version looked pretty solid and is also pretty comparable to the 2019 version. LEGO took a pretty big step back though in 2021 with the new Boba Fett starship from The Mandalorian. It's actually a similar scale to the 1999 version, and the detail and shaping of it looks great, but it's just way too small for a $50 set. The first LEGO AT-AT released in 2003, and I'm really glad they didn't try and make one any earlier, otherwise it would have looked awful. The 2003 version honestly looked really good. It had a nice interior, came with a speeder bike, and had printed pieces for the dishes and the visor on the head of the AT-AT. In 2007, LEGO released
released a motorized AT-AT, which is just about the coolest freaking thing LEGO has ever done with a LEGO Star Wars set. LEGO remade another AT-AT in 2010, and it looked solid, but not a huge improvement from the other versions. The 2014 version was a slight improvement. In 2020, LEGO released another playscale AT-AT, which is the best playscale version in my opinion. The technique they used for the visor looks awesome, and the interior is amazing and actually has seats for your snowtroopers. And it came with a speeder bike. Last but not least is the UCS AT-AT, which released in 2021. It's actually minifigure scale and
Really ridiculously good looking.
you can also take off all the panels to reveal the complete interior, which can store up to 40 minifigures. TIE Fighters are another ship that used to look way different back in the day. The first one came out in 2001, and I'm sorry, it just looks so bad. I mean, they got the general shape down, so that's something, but the wings have blue markings on them, which I guess in some scenes of the original trilogy, the gray on the TIE Fighters kind of looks like a light shade of blue, but this blue color was definitely not a good look. Maybe like a sand blue would have been the most accurate. The cockpit also looks okay for being made in 2001, but it took them almost 15 years to make a new piece mold for it. The 2012 version still had the same mold for the cockpit, and the First Order TIE Fighter from 2015 was the first TIE Fighter that used a new piece mold for the cockpit. There was also a UCS TIE Fighter that released in 2015. The 2018 TIE Fighter from Solo is definitely my favorite and looks the best in my opinion. I would say the newest 2021 version looks the best, but the wings are way too small and the proportions just don't look right. They've had to have made more than 2 TIE Bombers, right?
Apparently not.
Since LEGO just released a new TIE Bomber this year, I can finally add it to this list. The first TIE Bomber was released in 2003 and is such a nostalgic set, but it was definitely due for a remake, and after 20 years we finally got one, and let me just say the new TIE Bomber looks amazing. It looks super accurate and has an excellent bombing feature similar to the 2003 version. The first TIE Advance technically released in 2000 along with a Y-Wing, and the same set actually released in 2004 just with different box art. Now it's kind of weird to compare the UCS TIE Advance to the other playscale ones, but it released in 2006 and I absolutely love this set. The next TIE Advance released in 2009 for the 10th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, and it definitely looked a lot better than the previous version, but it used the exact same cockpit piece. In 2015, LEGO released the TIE Advance prototype set from Star Wars Rebels, which is actually the Grand Inquisitor ship. And finally is the Vader's TIE Advance versus A-Wing Starfighter set that released in 2017, and this version of Vader's TIE Advance looks really clean with new pieces and updated building techniques. The TIE Interceptor has been made a total of 4 times. The first one released in 2000 and was an Ultimate Collector Series set, and the box art made it look a lot better than it actually did. They released a playscale version in 2006, and like all of the older TIE sets, it used blue pieces for the wings. In 2019, they came out with Major Von Reg's red TIE Interceptor from the Resistance TV show, and finally, in 2023, LEGO released a TIE Interceptor alongside a Fang Fighter in this set from The Mandalorian, and it looks incredible, especially when compared to the 2006 version. All of the Hoth Rebel base sets are really unusual because they're all vastly different from each other. The first Hoth Rebel base set came out in 2007, and this is probably my favorite of all of them, literally just because when I was little, I loved the sliding door function and the printed snowy rock pieces. It also came with a snow speeder and rotating turret. For the 10th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars in 2009, LEGO released another Hoth Rebel base set. The set wasn't much of a base, but it came with a trench, a turret, a tauntaun, and some snowtroopers to fight against. Next was the Hoth Echo base set from 2011. This one didn't come with the iconic sliding doors or anything, but it came with a medical bay, a back-to-tank, and lots of cool features and exclusive minifigures. In 2013, LEGO released the Battle of Hoth set, which isn't really Echo base, but it includes the trenches and a snowspeeder. Then we've got the Hoth Attack set from 2016, which is basically the same idea as the 2013 set and came with a turret and snow trenches.
Ports win wars, good work.
In 2016, we also got a UCS Hoth set, which was extremely controversial since UCS sets aren't supposed to be play sets.
I am so confused.
If you can look past it being labeled as a UCS set, it was actually a pretty cool set. The actual Echo base part was awesome with the sliding doors. It also came with an ion cannon, Wampa Cave, snowspeeder, turrets, and even an inaccurate shield generator.
This is garbage.
In 2018, LEGO released a Hoth medical chamber set so you can reenact the scene where Luke kisses his own sister. The last sets are the Action Battle Hoth sets that came out in 2019. These Action Battle sets were a new idea LEGO was trying out, and if I was like 10 when these came out, these would have been awesome. Those giant missile launchers are too much fun. LEGO made a diorama of the Death Star 2 trench run in 2020. It was a free gift with purchase, but I still think it counts. However, in 2022, LEGO made an official set of the trench run, but but this time it was the first Death Star. One of the LEGO sets I want most in my collection is the UCS Death Star 2. It released in 2005 and looks so impressive on display. Even for an older model, it's still packed with greebling and lots of other details. LEGO hasn't remade a UCS Death Star 2 yet, but they did make a miniature Death Star 2 promo for May the 4th in 2023. The Imperial dropship technically isn't even canon, but it was a battle pack that came out back in 2008. It was a pretty cool set and was great for building your Imperial army. For the 20th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars in 2019, LEGO actually remade this set, and it was a great callback to the original set with an updated build and all new and improved stormtroopers. In 2011, LEGO released the UCS Super Star Destroyer, one of the holy grails for LEGO Star Wars collectors. And although LEGO hasn't made another UCS version, they just released a midi-scale version this year in 2023, which is definitely a lot easier to display. The first LEGO Y-Wing actually came in this TIE Fighter and Y-Wing set. The set came out in 1999, but was actually re-released in 2004. Same set, but different box art. A set with just the Y-Wing released in 2007, and it was way better than the previous version with a much sleeker design. And it also used these golf ball looking pieces. In 2009, LEGO released a Y-Wing based off the Clone Wars TV show. I know this one looks different, but it's still a Y-Wing at the end of the day. LEGO remade another original Trilogy Y-Wing in 2012, and if I'm being completely honest, I still like the way the 2007 version looks better, especially the shaping around the cockpit. Same goes for the 2017 remake. The cockpit just looks a little bit too blocky, but maybe that's more accurate. The final Playscale Y-Wing released in 2019 for the Rise of Skywalker, and it was a Resistance Y-Wing with a red color scheme, which looked really cool, but doesn't change the fact that it was a sequel set. LEGO released their first UCS Y-Wing in 2004, and it looked really good, especially for its time. It was remade in 2018 using improved building techniques and part usage. The only thing I don't like about the 2018 version is that you can see the studs on the half dome pieces on the front of the engines. Now this is a very exciting set. It's the Droid Escape Pod set. You know, from A New Hope when R2-D2 and C-3PO escape with the Death Star plans? I always hated these sets.
I always hated it.
But wait, 3 of them have been made?
Apparently.
Like, how could LEGO make more Droid Escape Pod sets than TIE Bombers or even TIE Interceptors? Enough of my rant. The first one came out in 2001 and literally had 45 pieces. The 2012 version definitely looked a lot better and even came with a couple stormtroopers. And we got the final remake in 2016, and this set had a shelf life of only 1 year. I wonder why! Regardless, it had a better way to access the interior, printed Death Star plans, and also came with 2 Jawas instead of stormtroopers. A lot of different LEGO sets have been made based on Luke and Vader's duel on the Death Star 2. The first 2 sets released in 2002 and were called Final Duel 1 and Final Duel 2. How creative. One of them came with Luke, a stormtrooper, and an Imperial officer, and the other set came with Vader and Darth Sidious. In 2015, LEGO decided to recreate this scene in LEGO form by releasing the Death Star Final Duel set, which came with just about every play feature you could imagine, from Luke falling off the balcony to exploding stairs to even a reactor shaft that you can throw Palpatine down. The set also folds up so it's easier for storage and transportation. LEGO remade this literal exact set in 2020. What's the difference? There were some very minor improvements to this set, but for the most part, it looks identical to the 2015 one. And finally, this year in 2023, LEGO released an Emperor's Throne Room diorama for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. And it looks pretty sick as a display piece and also comes with a brand new hairpiece for Luke. This Endor Speeder Chase set from 1999 was such a classic set. And while other Endor sets have been made since then, this specific set was just remade this year in 2023 for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. I really like the designs for the trees and speeders, and it's also really cool how you can put the speeder bikes on these transparent stands so that it looks like they're actually flying. The Desert Skiff is kind of a boring set, but the first one came out in 2000 and was a very simple build. The 2012 version was a huge improvement and came with the addition of a Sarlacc pit as well as a better assortment of minifigures. The last one released in 2017 and had a more accurate dark tan color scheme. It also came with a Sarlacc pit just like the 2012 version. The only thing is that it's missing Luke frickin' Skywalker. The Tantive 4 has been remade a total of 3 times in LEGO if we don't count mini builds or those planet sets. The first one was actually an Ultimate Collector Series version and it came out in 2001, and being a UCS set, it's obviously way bigger than the other 2 Playscale sets. First Playscale Tantive 4 released in 2009 for the 10th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, and it looked really good. It had a full interior and even came with printed pieces for the cockpit area. It also came with a Captain Antilles figure that had an alternate face print of when he gets force choked by Darth Vader. Another interesting fact about this set is that some copies of the set came with a smooth hairpiece for Princess Leia.
Real smooth.
It was a pretty rare misprint, but that Leia figure goes for around $300 now on eBay and Bricklink. The Tantive 4 was remade in 2019 and had some major stability improvements and even had a carrying handle, which was
really nice.
It also looked a lot skinnier than the 2009 version, and the only downside to this version is that the cockpit pieces weren't printed, but we also got Bail Organa for the first time ever in LEGO in this set. To my knowledge, the only sequel set that has been remade is Kylo Ren Shuttle. The first version came out in 2016 with all the other Force Awakens sets, and it was horribly inaccurate because LEGO went with a gray color scheme instead of a more accurate black option. However, LEGO mended this mistake by releasing an updated Kylo Ren Shuttle in 2019 that was far more accurate, and the wings actually folded out this time too.
The LEGO Star Wars set that, without a doubt, had the least amount of improvement between remakes is the Playscale Death Star. The 2008 version was awesome as a playset and had different sections in the Death Star where you could reenact certain scenes from the original trilogy. It also came with an insane amount of minifigures. It was pretty much carbon copied in 2016 with very minor differences, and all the minifigures were updated with new molds and prints. LEGO also hinted at the release of the UCS Millennium Falcon on the box art of this set. Oh yeah, and also LEGO decided to label this one as a UCS set for some reason.
What?
LEGO just released a set of the Ghost based off the Ahsoka Disney Plus show, and it's a beautiful looking set. However, the first version of the Ghost came out in 2014 and was based off Star Wars Rebels, and ever since it retired, it's been going for an insane amount of money on eBay. So yeah, I'm pretty happy LEGO remade this set. The thing I like most about the newer one is that it actually comes with a Phantom, because with the 2014 version, you had to buy a separate Phantom set in order to dock it with the Ghost. The 2023 version is just overall a really nice improvement over the older one.
LEGO made the first Phantom in 2014, and it was simple but looked pretty good. But since the first Phantom was lost in Star Wars Rebels and the crew got a new updated Phantom, LEGO made that one too, which looked really accurate and also came with the one and only Grand Admiral Thrawn figure that now goes for over $100 on eBay and Bricklink.
LEGO also just released the Ahsoka's T6 Jedi Shuttle set, so naturally I had to go pick one up and build it. And don't get me wrong, it's a super cool set, but LEGO actually made another T6 Jedi Shuttle that released back in 2011 from the Clone Wars, and I still like that one a lot better. It was a lot bigger than the newer one, and you could actually fit 4 people in the cockpit. I actually own this set as well, but it's definitely seen better days. Now, I let this one slide on a technicality, but there was this prototype set of a Yavin 4 base, and it was on the very back of the LEGO Star Wars Visual Dictionary book. But it was only a prototype and was never made into an actual LEGO set. This August, they released a remake of this prototype Yavin 4 set, and I say that because it definitely seems like they took a lot of inspiration from that prototype set. If you didn't already know, LEGO has a line of helmet sets, and there are a total of 11 Star Wars helmets, one of them being Darth Vader. However, this isn't the first time LEGO made a Darth Vader helmet. In 2019, LEGO made a Darth Vader bust, which was a Star Wars Celebration exclusive. I kind of like the look of the Star Wars Celebration set better since the dome of the helmet was smoothed off compared to the studded look of the 2021 version. LEGO's first Razor Crest set released in 2020 and was a really cool playset with a ton of interior space to put your figures. In 2022, LEGO made a UCS Razor Crest, and it was perfect timing since they released this set right when the Razor Crest got completely obliterated in Mando Season 2. The first LEGO E-Wing was actually Jek 14 Starfighter from the Yoda Chronicles. It released in 2013 and had an awesome black and red color scheme and came with some super cool unique figures. Another E-Wing released just this year in 2023. It came in this set from the Ahsoka Disney Plus show, and it comes with both an E-Wing and Shin Hati's Starfighter. This E-Wing is definitely smaller than Jek 14's, and it also has a white and blue color scheme. One of the most insanely valuable LEGO Star Wars sets of all time is the 2003 Cloud City set, which is worth anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 sealed, which is $7,000 to $10,000 more dollars than I have. It's a really cool build. It comes with a massive landing platform and areas to recreate all your favorite scenes from Empire Strikes Back. But most notably, and why the set is worth so much money, is all of the exclusive minifigures that it came with. You got Boba Fett with freaking arm and leg printing, which was insane for 2003. And you also got an exclusive Lando, Luke, and Leia minifigures. In 2018, LEGO released the Betrayal at Cloud City set, and it was a great homage to the classic 2003 set. It included scenes like the dinner table, Han getting frozen in carbonite, and the I am your father scene. It also included a miniature Slave 1, which literally looks exactly like the Boba Fett Starship set from 2021. Yay! It also came with the first twin pod cloud car since 2002. In 2001, LEGO tried something new and decided to make Technic action figures. Some of them looked alright, but others like the Stormtrooper just looked terrible. Like, that don't even look like a Stormtrooper. In 2015, LEGO brought this idea back with brand new pieces designed specifically for these figures, and they definitely looked a lot better than those Technic figures. Some of them looked amazing, but others like this Jyn Erso looked absolutely atrocious, and you can actually still find this in some retail stores. LEGO released
released a Mindstorms droid developer kit in 1999, and a year later was a Darkside developer kit. These two sets incorporated motors and Technic pieces so you could create droids like R2-D2 and other things like an AT-AT that actually move. Even though these sets looked pretty bad, it was still a good idea, and in 2019 they released a similar type of set called the Boost Droid Commander set, where you could build 3 different types of droids and control them using an app. In 2002, LEGO made this really cool buildable Yoda set, and I really like it because you can actually tell that it's LEGO since it's got that blocky look to it. But this Yoda set was supposed to be from the original trilogy since he's got his walking stick and necklace, which, fun fact, it's actually called a blistle, and it's a type of musical instrument. LEGO made another buildable Yoda like this in 2019, and this time it was from the prequel trilogy since he's got his green lightsaber. They also used the same sand green color for Yoda's skin color in both sets, and I really like how they shaped Yoda's face on the newer version, but still gave his robes that blocky LEGO texture. I like this set in theory, but those eyes are creepy enough to give me nightmares. Besides the Technic R2-D2, there was a buildable UCS R2-D2 set that released in 2012, and it was remade in 2021, and there were a lot of improvements made, especially with making the head more round and smoothed off by using slopes and curved pieces. If you made it all the way through it, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would really appreciate it if you could like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video like this. Also, comment what videos you would like to see next, and click here to see LEGO Star Wars sets that need to be remade.